October. It was a very, very tough battle here, but in the end we killed all the terrorists that come inside to the city of Sderot. We need to be sure that the 7th of October will not come again. And to do it, we need to continue to support the government.
And as we went through that kibbutz, what we saw was home after home after home. It wasn't just destroyed, but every house we walked into was a total nightmare. Because you saw a family that struggled for their life. You saw families who were trying to protect their kids. You saw families where grandparents were there. And the only thing they had to keep themselves from the terrorists was trying to hold the door as tight as they could and not let the terrorists in. The terrorists tried to shoot. If that didn't work, they tried to pull the door. If that didn't work, they tried to burn. And the things that happened in those homes, in that community, is something no one should ever even think of. These were people who were burned alive. These were children who were killed. These were women that were raped. All of them, house after house. And what was very clear was they knew what they were doing. They knew exactly which houses to go to. They knew exactly who was going to be in those houses. This was incredibly orchestrated, and it was very detailed. Then we went to the concert. And to go to the concert site, all I could think about was my kids. Because my kids could have been at that. And what you saw was where there were a lot of kids that should have been having fun and listening and loving their life. Out of nowhere, they heard gunshots, they saw parachutes coming in, and the next thing they knew, it was sheer terror. And where you look at this concert site, there was no place to hide. The trees weren't thick, they were thin. If a terrorist saw them, they were going to capture them. And we heard from the courage of one survivor who will be traumatized for the rest of her life. And the reason she has chosen to speak is because people are denying what she experienced at that concert. When she was hiding, she heard girls being raped. She heard them being What I say to you is we hear you. We see you. We hurt with you. And we mourn every single life that's been lost. For those families who have hostages that have been taken, we won't stop praying or fighting until we see every one of them come home and get their bodies back if they're not still with us. Because every family deserves that. But what I will tell all Israelis, don't listen to the media bites that you hear. America is with you. Americans are with you. We are connected to you. And what happened on October 7th hurt us all. It's still personal. 1,200 people were brutally murdered. 32 of them were Americans. 8 American hostages. But those numbers blend because we're all together in this. And so what I will tell to the people of Israel, let's not forget what happened on October 7th. Let's not close it out of our minds. Because Hamas has said they're gonna do it again. We owe it to make sure it never happens again. To go look, this is not about pointing blame or fingers. I don't look at that. I want to know, how do we secure the people of Israel and make sure it doesn't happen again? There's 2 goals. Get every single hostage home as safely as possible. And make sure that Israelis never have to fear their security. that they always feel secure. And I will use my voice to help make that happen as much as humanly possible, because I think it's that important. To my American brothers and sisters, Sunday is our religious day. This happened during Shabbat, their religious day. Imagine if you woke up on a Sunday morning where you feel you're closest to God and threat comes in. It's literally at your doorstep. It's literally in the safest room in your home. It's literally happening to your neighbors. And you watch all of this unfold. Now imagine if this happened in America. What would we feel like? What would we be going through? What sadness would we have? What anger would we have? We wouldn't let it go. We wouldn't stop. We would want to know who did it. We would want to know how they did it. We would want to know why they did it. And we'd want to know who our friends are. And we never want to forget who our enemies are. To put this in perspective for the American people and for the rest of the world, 3,000 Hamas terrorists broke the barrier. 3,000 on Israel's holiest day during Shabbat. They broke the barrier. But that's not all who came. Thousands of Palestinian citizens came and robbed and killed and murdered and went back and came back again. The reason this is important is you hear about Hamas, but there's an entire generation of Palestinians who are now entrenched with that Hamas ideology. Now, what I pray for Palestinians is that they get Hamas out of their lives. But what I will tell you for Israelis, when they say they're going to do it again, when they told one woman they'd be back 2 years from now, take them at their word. What I saw was very detailed. It's clear that there were informants. It's clear that this took years to plan. But make no mistake, this is one of the most brutal massacres I have ever experienced, heard about, seen the damages of. It was orchestrated by Iran. It was helped with Russian intelligence. And it was fueled by money from China. Don't deny that. China's been funding Iran the entire time. For those who could no longer fight. This shouldn't have happened. But we can never let this happen again. And if you think it's only going to be in Israel, if we are arrogant enough, this could absolutely happen in America too. And that's the moral of this story, is I hope that everybody takes that away. We will continue to talk to you as we go through this. I know I took a while to spell that out, but I want you to feel what I felt, and I want you to see what I saw, and we'll work. And I think the reason that he and I worked together well during that time was because he let me do my job, which was to call out our enemies, but we never forgot our friends, which is why we stood with Israel. And all you have to do is look at the fact that, you know, he moved the embassy from Tel Aviv to Jerusalem and acknowledged the truth. He allowed me to defund UNRWA. When we went and tried to go and condemn Hamas and name them a terrorist organization, he let me put that resolution forward. Now, the UN didn't fully, well, for the record, we won the majority of the vote, but they changed it to 2/3 vote at the time. But all of those things, you know, he allowed for strong foreign policy. I hope in his next administration that he remembers who his friends are, who his enemies are, and don't let that waver, because that's what's important. And not let the idea, we all want a fast policy. And when you look at the policies of the two, I very much am on one side. It's not even close. I want to know that we're going to have the backs of our allies and hold our enemies to account. I want to know that we're going to protect freedom at all costs, that we're going to protect capitalism at all costs. I want to make sure that we have less debt, not more. It's, you know, I've made this answer very clear. So that's where I'm looking at. That's who I'm voting for. That's the way I
Are you optimistic about the relationship? Because it looks like a Grand Canyon at the moment, but
I mean, it's not personal for me.
Okay.
It's not about, we worked very well together at the UN. We had we sparred in a campaign. If I thought either one of them was great, I wouldn't have run. I ran because I thought I could do a better job. But at the end of the day, it is what it is. It's not personal for me. This is about America. It's about a strong America. It's about a strong Israel. It's about having the backs of our friends. It's about holding our enemies to account. And it's about us. You don't stand in a moment of silence for a murder. You don't sit in a moment of silence for a murder. You walk out and let the world know that that is not anything we're ever going to condone, accept, or sympathize with.